Let's see. I'm trying to find out if I'm live. Let's see here. It looks like I'm live now. Can you all hear me in the chat room? I tried fooling around with my microphone, and so I'm just hoping that the sound is okay. Just let me know if it is or not. And in this video, I'm going to talk about The Sims again. I know that this is maybe very bizarre for somebody that would be new to my channel, but it's actually something I've been speaking on a long time. And yeah, I see a few people are trickling in. Just let me know if the audio is good or if I need to mess around with it. Let's see here. So I did this video a while back with Chris and Love, and we have changed our opinion on things since then because it's been a long time. I mean, October 25th, 2016. So, been a very long time since we did that. But there's a lot of programming in the media concerning the eyeball and mirrors and water and dimensional and time travel. So we were discussing all that programming, and that programming's still there. There's a reason why it's there. So if you haven't seen that live chat from 2016, I did put it up here, and there's two different live chats, but we put it into one on this video, and it's 5 hours and 50 minutes long, so it's almost 6 hours worth of information on that. So I have definitely studied what I'm speaking on today. So we were discussing all the different dimensional and time travel portals and things like that. The Ezekiel's wheel is brought up a lot. Maybe that's a reference to the Merkaba, I'm not sure. And definitely through mirrors and windows and things like that. Water, definitely. And when you travel in media to another dimension or time, often there will be a close-up of your eyeball. Now, this may be a reference to the third eye, and they're just using the eyeball as something that we would understand, but it tends to always go through the eyeball. And I didn't find it before this video started, but there was a video of a man who had he had a near-death experience. And I think he said that his soul seemed to have leapt out of his eyeball. I'm not entirely sure on that. I'd have to look that up, but I think that's what he said. And I think that's very interesting because obviously that's in the programming, that's in the media. Things like the 13th floor. I think the Matrix, but it'll be everywhere. Once you understand this, and if you're still watching these movies, you'll see it a lot. There was a commercial for Hennessy, I believe. A lot of the flat earthers got very excited about it because it showed the water above, like the water above the firmament and things like that. But it also showed a big eyeball on there. And, you know, there's been different theories about why are they showing the eyeball. So my thought is, I think in the 13th floor, which is an interesting one if you want to understand what I'm discussing in this video. The 13th floor came out at the same time as The Matrix, but I liked it better than The Matrix. And it is the same idea that this world that we're living in right now is sort of a program or matrix or whatever, holographic universe in some way. And I know that Greg Braden talks about it being like a holographic universe. But the idea, it's not that there's some people who say we're in a matrix and that's like a trap or something. And I'm not saying it's a trap. You know, in Star Trek, there's a episode where I think it was Moriarty, became aware that he was a hologram and he wanted out of the hologram, and they're like, you can't get out of the hologram. And so they put him into this little box where he could walk out of the hologram, and I think it's like Ship in a Bottle or something. I think that might be the title of the episode, Star Trek The Next Generation. And so he thought he came out of the Matrix, but he's still in this little box, this cube, you know, and he got to live his life. as if he got out, but he didn't really get out because he couldn't get out. So I've talked about the black cube before and all that stuff, about like this world, the New Jerusalem is a cube also, okay? And it may just be a state of mind, but I'm not getting into that too much in here. I'm just saying that I've talked about this stuff beforehand. So if we're in like this holographic universe, my idea is that we are actually spirits, not souls, because a soul can die, and we're spirits that leave. The spirit goes back to God who sent it after death, but the soul dies. And Adam became a living soul when the spirit got into him. And of course, the spirit is pneuma or ruach in Greek or Hebrew, and it is translated as wind or spirit or breath. So he was breathing life through the spirit, and that's also wind. You can blow the wind. In the Exodus, God is supposedly blowing the water away with his nostrils, the breath out of his nostrils, the ruach out of his nostrils, basically. And also, I've talked about this before in Revelation when John says, I was in the spirit one day, like as if he went up to heaven, I was in the spirit one day. The spirit can also represent wind, and I had theorized that he was in a whirlwind because that's how you can talk to God, in the whirlwind. You know, people were swept away in a whirlwind in the Old Testament, and God spoke out of the whirlwind. And of course, I talk about all that sort of stuff in that time travel and dimensional portals video. So that also is seen in Dorothy, the Wizard of Oz, the tornado. She travels through the whirlwind to a rainbow type color world, whereas it's all black and white in the world that she's in normally. So that's a representation of how when you're in this realm, it feels like a dream. That's how the people who have near-death experiences explain it, that when you're out of this realm and you go back to God who sent it, the spirit, you know, that place seems more real than this world. So when they come back here, it feels like a dream to them. So that's like the black and white versus the technicolor of leaving, going through the whirlwind, the tornado, to another land. So there's this idea, I was mentioning the 13th floor. There's a man who goes into this program. I'm totally spoiling it for you if you've never seen it before, but I'm trying to get to the explanation, basically, is what I need. And it's from 1999, right? Should be fine about that. I do suggest checking it out, like I said, though, if you want to understand what I'm talking about. So he goes from this other realm that's more real into this world, and the idea is, at the course in the movie, he doesn't realize he's in a program, but then he finds out that he's in this holographic universe. But when he is in this world, what happens is somebody built a world, a game that they can plug into, even like a third level down. And that's when you start out, this guy is plugging into this game, and then he gets out of that game and he's on this world where he thinks it's the real world, but it's not. There's actually a level above him. So in the middle world, let's say, they can go into this game and interact with people. And when he comes out of that game, he's on this level and it goes through his eyeball. And of course you see a tunnel. And I talked about that like in that video series. So I made this webpage to discuss that video series. There's two different ideas, the rainbow bridge or the tunnel to get to another world. And so I had some examples on the rainbow bridge. Here, the links are below if you want to check that out. See, I mentioned the Wizard of Oz, over the rainbow, you know, that she wants to go over the rainbow. So she's gone over the rainbow bridge and then she ends up in Oz. And flash forward, I'm just talking about, in flash forward, there's dimensional shifts. They go into the future, they flash forward into a future consciousness, and then they go back. And the little girl has a rainbow on her shirt. Okay, Star Trek, I mean, it's not Star Trek, Stargate has him going through the water bridge, and there's a rainbow circle, as you can see. There's also a mirror reflection, and of course water, as I talked about beforehand. When they're talking about the Stargate, there's another rainbow reference in there. And they call it the door to heaven. This is from Space Jam 2, and Michael Jordan, I believe, goes through the tunnel down into the earth, and in the tunnel then there's this kind of rainbow Warner Brothers thing which he goes through, and then he falls down into this dimension. And I also have a video about the fallen angels being like the cartoons who are trying to leave their world. It's a dimensional shift because cartoons are 2D and we're 3D, and they're showing that switch from different dimensions, you know, the second dimension to the third dimension. This is also Stargate, but also the movie Stay Tuned. When they go into the TV, and the TV is this hell dimension, they go through this tunnel of cords, and of course the cords are multicolored like a rainbow bridge. And okay, this is the rainbow bridge from Thor. Other people have talked about it in the Kabbalah. They call it the Bifrost Bridge, or Bifrost. So anyway, that's the Rainbow Bridge, and I'll go back and look at some tunnels on here. Okay, this is King's Quest 7, where she goes through a mirror, and it's in the water, so that's another mirror water reference. She goes through the tunnel, it's multicolored, that's a rainbow thing. This troll grabs her, and the troll brings her into his world, and you can see once she goes through, she's a human in one world, and then she's a troll in the other. This shows the dimensional shift when you go through this water mirror portal. So let's see if there's anything else on here I want to talk about. Coraline goes through a different dimension through a rainbow bridge tunnel idea. This is when all dogs go to heaven. He's going through a tunnel, and then there's these different streamer colors, and that's like a rainbow bridge tunnel idea. And that's in heaven, so, you know, you can go, that's the whole idea of going through heaven, going down to earth, etc., going through bridges and rainbow tunnels and all that stuff I've talked about. Oh, actually, part of that was Contact. Okay, this is a Contact wormhole. And I've talked about that one. It was on the other page. And Interstellar has them going through a wormhole and all sorts of different dimensions. So, like I said, this stuff is very common in movies and TV. Another interesting thing is just that there's an eye of a cyclone. So a cyclone is like a tornado. It's that whirlwind. So there's this whole idea that there's an eye in the middle of a whirlwind. So, you know, our eyes are like the connection to this whirlwind. Now, I don't know, like I said, if it's a reference to the third eye or if it's just a reference to our eyeballs. I don't know. Like I said, I think that guy in the near-death experience, the Jewish guy, I think he said that his soul sort of popped out of his eyeball. And if that's true, it's just another reference to this, but he was talking about his actual eyeballs, not like a third eye. And I want to get that link below if I can find it in the future. I hope you guys are all enjoying the chat. I did ask to hear if my audio was good. I hope that it is. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. And let's see here. What was I thinking about? I don't know. I just think that there's this reference too many times in media for it to be nothing, basically. And that's how he plugs into, thank you, Katie. That's how he plugs into the game in the 13th floor, is through like this tunnel, through this eyeball idea. And I have not like looked for the eyeball in the movie Avatar, but Avatar is another representation of somebody. Hi, Commander Lee. So it's a representation of somebody going through this dimensional travel, like switching into another body. So if you're in heaven as a spirit, you're going through this rainbow bridge down to the earth, like 13th floor jacks into this game. And then you can play this character, this soul. And so that's like the Avatar in the movie Avatar. A lot of people have seen it, I'm sure. And another thing is in that near-death experience of the Jewish guy, when he came out of his eyeball and went up to heaven, he said that he saw everybody there, which is a reference to the fact that we're currently seated in heavenly places. That is, we are actually currently already in heaven, okay? We're not like awaiting to go to heaven. We're already there. And I think the idea is that we're just jacking into this world. And my theory is that when we sleep at night, we're connecting back to that world. And that's what happened in Avatar, in the movie Avatar, if you haven't seen it. He goes into this avatar and he's able to do stuff. Now they're saying it's like an actual thing, like a real world. It's not like, you know, this dimensional thing. These people actually exist. But he's jacking into this avatar. And when he goes to sleep, when the avatar goes to sleep at night, then his consciousness goes back to his human body. And that's the idea, is that our soul is in, in heaven already. And it's just sort of jacking into this world. And when we go to sleep at night, our soul kind of goes back up to heaven. And I can talk about lucid dreams a little bit. I think of lucid dreams as, here, let me see here. If you're currently in heaven, you're jacking into this world. When you have a dream, it's kind of like you're going into another like subpart. But I do think of that it's kind of connected to the spiritual realm in some way. But I think that when you're lucid in that dream, you can change the world. And I do want to talk about how I think we're becoming lucid in this world. Like we're we're like spirits coming down into this world. And all of a sudden, this world is like the dream from there. And we're becoming lucid in this world, in which case we can change our world. And the reason I wanted to bring this up, and please in the chat, be kind to everybody talking about different ideas. We're here to discuss different ideas. Don't tell somebody else that they're evil or wrong for having their ideas, okay? If you tell somebody that they're evil or wrong or, whatever, then I would have to, like, get rid of you there. Well, see, the word New Age, in the Bible, it talks about hell, the lake of fire, not hell. The lake of fire being an age and an age. And then after that age is done with, then there's a new age. That is the Millennium Kingdom, the heaven on earth. So we're looking forwards to the new age, heaven on earth. The Bible talks about the new age, and people sort of took that and went with it and did their own thing. So anyway, okay. What was I saying? The lucid dreams. Okay, so we're becoming lucid in this world. And the reason I brought this up is because I was transcribing. I had a transcription job, and somebody was talking about hacking. And in my mind, it's like, yeah, I've never like hacked for malicious, personal, whatever. But there's websites out there for hacking The Sims. That is Mod The Sims. And I used to do things with Mod The Sims, and you would change some of the things into different stuff. So if you saw the picture that I had on here for the title, there's a picture, the thumbnail, there's a picture of a girl that looks like the Avatar character, and that's a sim. That's somebody created this sim, and it's a mod of the game The Sims so that they can look like the Avatar character. So it's not malicious, they just wanted to be able to see the Avatar character in the game The Sims. So but the idea was hacking, okay? And with the game of life and how to play it video I did, I think of that as understanding the way the world works. And if you understand the way the world works, the laws, the rules, the Torah, our world is built on the Torah, which is to love one another as yourself. And if you understand the way the world works, then you can sort of hack our life, or hack the world, And the way to do that is to love everybody else as yourself, to forgive them as you would want to be forgiven, to allow somebody else to speak what they believe and not tell them that they have to shut up, because you wouldn't want somebody else to tell you to shut up, right? Treat each other as yourself. And so that's my idea, is that we're becoming lucid in this world. Our spirits are waking up. We're becoming lucid that this is not the end result. This is, a place where we're all meeting. The spirits are just sort of coming in together in this holographic universe here. And so you can see my video on golems for more information. I put the link below for that one. It talks about how Pinocchio became born again and stuff like that. It's very interesting. You can see my video on who's playing you, because I talked about this before as like our characters, our avatar is like the soul. The soul can die, the character, the sim can die, but the spirit can't. It's hacking in, it's like jacking into this soul, and playing the soul until the soul dies, and then it goes back up there, okay? And in my video on who's playing you, I talk about how you can, don't rely on your AI system. Don't rely on the programming of your character, because the AI system is very bad. The Sims, if you just let them go do their own thing, they will end up very hungry, or they'll like pee their pants, at the table because they didn't get to the bathroom fast enough, because they're not really smart. That AI system is not very smart. But if we, empty ourselves, like Philippians 2, in my video about Philippians 2, we empty ourselves of ourselves and we do our Father's will instead. He knows what we're supposed to be doing. So our Father's Holy Spirit is inside of us and knows what we should be doing. If we would stop doing what we think we should be doing and start doing what our Father wants us to be doing, then we're going to be able to be smart at this life, basically, because it's not what we're doing, it's what He's doing through us, and He's going to guide us to do the right thing. So when we let Him play us, then we will win the game, so to speak, so we have to not do our own will, we'll do His will, and then we'll have a great life, basically, and we'll be able to help out the people that He wants to help out here. So the video on golems talks about how we are basically programs, and you can get the name of God written on your forehead, or the name of the beast, so you will be in the image of God or the image of the beast. So please see that video if you've never seen that before. It's the same idea, but in a different perspective, basically. Let's see here. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about. Okay. When we have nightmares, somebody, Simona Rich, had posted this video the other day about how she thinks that if you have nightmares, you're going to go to hell. No, I have a different perspective. I think that we're in hell on earth right now in your mind if you're tormented. I think this is kind of the lake of fire. And if you're being tossed about by all the different, winds of different doctrines and ideas, and you're not really stable, you're not following Christ, then you're going to be tossed about in the waves, and you're going to fall into the water. You can't walk on water, etc. That's a representation of the lake of fire being like hell. You're just being thrown about. If you're following Christ, and just your eyes are on Him, and you're doing what He did, and you're listening to the Holy Spirit, etc., you're not listening to these other people, then you're able to walk on water and be stable. And that lake of fire, that was, a thing of chastisement, it's becoming still. And I think for a lot of people, this lake of fire that we're in is becoming still. They're able to walk on water and sort of hack the world, hack the life, because they understand the rules of this world, and they can do what they need to do. So see my video on the game of life and how to play it if you're more interested in that. Also, David Hanotsri did a video of how he used what I talked about in the game of life video in his actual life, and things changed for him. I should get a link to that. And so the David Hanotsri channel, and he talked about how he let go of his, he said that he wanted his divine job or whatever. He wants what's divinely his rather than not what's not divinely his. And when he said that, then the next day he lost his job, and then he took the rules of the game in action. And the rules of the game of life are to pray as if it's already happened. Of course, Jesus said this. He said that we're supposed to have faith that it's already happened, and by your faith, then it'll happen, right? So what he did is he went out in faith and went to a restaurant and paid for things. And you would see, if you don't have a job, normally you'd start going to saving mode, into stockpiling mode. But you're supposed to act as if you've already got the new job and you're just going out to eat and having a happy time because you already got a job. You're like celebrating it. And he did that. And then he got a job that was 1.5 times in pay, I believe. And so a much better paying job. So you can see that for more information on his experience. But you see, if you understand the game of life and how to play it, the belief that something is already happening, and the faith and the thankfulness and everything, you can bring it about, like the law of attraction, etc. And so this is a good thing. Now, to some people, it's a bad thing. So I was talking about Simona Rich, and she was talking about how she thinks that if you have a nightmare, that means that you are going to hell in the future. Now, what I was saying is that you're basically already in hell in your mind. You're already in the lake of fire, okay? And it's a representation. So here's my idea. I'll try to explain this in the right way here. Like God is up here, and you can think of the cherubims, the flaming cherubims that are protecting the tree of life, right? Here as a block. You can't get to God without going through them, okay? They have flaming swords. That's another reference to the lake of fire, basically, I think, because it's fire, flames. Fire is purificatory. The lake of fire is not about torment, it's about chastisement. In order to get up to God, you have to go through the lake of fire, the fire here, to be pure, like he is pure. And what we're doing is trying to get up to him, okay? And when you're down here on earth and you want to get up to God, you have to pass through this fire. And I think when you go to sleep at night, you're trying to get up there, but there's a block. You can't get up there if you're in a negative state of being, if you're at a lower frequency. So to get up to God, you have to go through this lake of fire, which is a mirror. And it's the 7 Essene mirrors. I talked about Greg Braden. There's a link below if you haven't seen that. And these mirrors are showing you the negative aspects of yourself so that you will stop doing it, so you'll repent. If you've already repented of all your negative things and you're actually pure as God is pure, you're going to go through this mirror with no problem, and you'll get up to God and you'll have really good dreams. If you are in a very low frequency and you are not pure, you're going to have a problem when you reach these mirrors, and you're going to have nightmares. These mirrors are showing you the negative aspects of yourself, and that's why you have nightmares, I think. So if you have good and bad dreams, I think you're kind of getting up to them and you're having recollections. A lot of the times when people go through this tunnel, they see flashes, like their life flashes before their eyes. And when you have your dreams and you wake up, I think you're kind of getting flashes of what you saw through that tunnel experience. And sometimes God sends messages through that, and that because you saw him, you went up to the throne room, you saw him, he gave you some messages, and you come back and it's kind of cluttered on the way down because our minds are not capable of understanding the big picture. But we get pieces, we get bits and pieces, and that's why it's symbolic and not clear cut, okay? And so when Simona Rich talks about that, that you're going to hell just because you saw that. Now, I don't believe that, but I think that I know that when I was not in a good place, I had nightmares. And when I'm in a good place, I don't have nightmares anymore. They're not like crazy. Now, I may have bad dreams. And that may just be, my theory is that our body is detoxing. If you're actually trying to physically detox, our body stores things. When you were in a bad place, I think it stores even your spiritual, physical, state of mind. So when you're, let's say, intermittent fasting, your body is sort of doing that autophagy. It's eating up the bad cells, the negative cells, when you're detoxing. And then it is releasing that state of mind. And when it does that, then you'll have dreams of that. So like if let's say 5 years ago, I had a juicy burger and then I stored that in my body. And now 5 years later, obviously I've been vegan for how long? I've been vegetarian for how long, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not wishing for it. But all of a sudden I dream of a juicy burger or I get a craving for one. That's the body is eating that cell and it's sort of releasing that thing. And it's very quick. It goes away. It's just your body's detoxing. And I think that there's a spiritual detox too. So that's why you could have a dream of something like you were really angry 5 years ago and now you've worked on your anger and you're very forgiving, etc. But all of a sudden you have a dream where you're really angry and yelling at somebody. It might just be that you're detoxing from that and it's not, necessarily that you're going to hell, because you had a bad dream. It's just that you're having a detox thing. You're letting it out, that's going away now. And then in the future, you won't have such a negative view of that anymore. It won't be popping up in your head anymore. You're just detoxing. It'll go away. But if you're having recurring negative dreams, then you should actually think about it because it may be like this scene mirror idea that you're, that there's something in your life that you're supposed to be working on. And then that should go away once you're working on yourself. So I'm glad that you guys are enjoying the chat and that I'm able to explain it. I really had to focus on how to explain that in a good way, because it is kind of complicated. But I think that that's a good explanation of that. So we definitely should be working on ourselves. And the game of life, like I said, it's not the law of attraction. Oh, here's another representation of the law of attraction. Okay, if somebody in the new age or new age is doing something negative, they're greedy, let's say. They don't want to get a bunch of money for helping out other people, right? They're very greedy. They want to hoard it. They just want lots and lots of money to hoard it, okay? Or maybe even to use it for negative purposes, right? Let's say that they're doing that and they're trying the law of attraction to bring it about in their life. What they're going to do is they're going to bring in greedy people into their life. And those greedy people will want to, if they want to take from them, if they want to take from other people in a negative way, okay, you're going to bring this mirror into your face, like I talked about previously in another video. So I think the last live chat. So the law of attraction is going to bring things to you. It's because it's a mirror. It's because it's a good thing that our Father put into this world, the Torah. Treat others as you would want to be treated. If you are very greedy, then you're going to see greedy people come into your life trying to take from you because you're trying to take from them or other people, right? As a mirror. And that's a good thing because it's going to cause you to repent. Okay? If it doesn't cause you to repent, it's going to get worse and worse. And that's the lake of fire. You don't let it chastise you, okay? But if you let the lake of fire chastise you, then, hi Janet, thank you very much. I got your mail. Thank you very much. So, if you let the lake of fire chastise you, then you're going to purify yourself. The lake of fire is purificatory. In the Bible, it talks about the coal that touched the lips or the tongue or something like that, and it purified someone. I forget who it was. It might have been Ezekiel or Isaiah. I'm not sure. The fire, it purifies you if you let it burn you, okay? So we gotta let our selves be gold tried in the fire and let that that chaff come off, okay? So if you're in the lake of fire, you're the gold in the lake of fire, and you're letting this lake of fire purify you. It's getting off the chaff. It's getting off the negative things. You're letting those mirrors show you what you're like, and then you're like, I shouldn't be judging people because I haven't judged myself yet. Judge yourself, get yourself pure, then you're going to go through the lake of fire with no problem. Then you can walk on water. The lake of fire, you know, it'll become cool, calm, etc. You can walk on it. And this is Isaiah. Thank you, Janet. So the lake of fire is this purificatory thing, and it's the Essene mirrors, I think, the 7 Essene mirrors, that you're judging yourself. And one of the things is called the dark night of the soul. So a lot of people will get into this point of, you know, this really negative thing, and you just have to come to this acceptance of all these negative things in yourself. And it's hard to get out of. Some people in the dark night of the soul might think that this is literally hell, and I think they get trapped in that spot where they're like afraid. And like the Christian truthers, I know I was one of them. I'm not judging. I went through this myself, but they get into this position where they think that the end of the world is coming. Now they have to stockpile food, right? And it wasn't until I was like really studying, you know, when it talks about the birds have food, why are we stockpiling? We're not supposed to be stockpiling like this and worrying that our Father is going to get us food, right? But they get into this state of fear, and maybe they're in that dark night of the soul, you know, and they really have to get out of that fear thing. The people that believe in the demiurge, that this world is some sort of trap, they get stuck in the state of fear, you know, and they haven't gotten out of that yet. They're kind of in their hell of their own making in that sense. And of course, I've spoken on that in previous videos. I've talked about there's some people that are afraid that the white light at the end of the tunnel is a negative thing. And it's not, in my opinion. It's just not. A lot of the people that have near-death experiences haven't, they don't have that fear because they've been through it, you know. But there's people that haven't, or they come back and then they're angry that they're back here, and it's because that they haven't dealt with the issues in themselves yet. But once you deal with the issues in yourself, yet you climb the ladder, as I said, up to agape love, that I always talk about. You know, add to your faith virtue, add to your virtue knowledge and temperance and all that stuff, brotherly love, agape love, etc. Once you get up to agape love and you love others as yourself, then you're not going to be afraid because there's no fear in perfect love, okay? And when you're not afraid of anything, that's when you can easily transverse, I think, at nighttime, and you're not going to have all these negative dreams like I talked about, unless you're detoxing, which is a good thing. And I just don't think you're going to have nightmares. And I did have nightmares. I literally had demons pinning me down in my dreams. It was called sleep paralysis, except I had it in dreams, not when I was awake. And that went away after I was dealing with these issues. So I know what I'm talking about as far as that goes. That stuff can go away if you're working on yourself and judging yourself and focusing on yourself. We have to go within, purify ourselves and ourselves. And once you do that, you're going to love others because you're going to be like, yeah, I used to do that, and I totally understand why that person's doing that. And you're not going to be judging them as like, you know, you're just going to be forgiving of them because you've been through that, you know. Looking at the chat and trying to see here. Okay, Dr. Fu asked, do you believe that God can make you astral travel, take your soul to different planes of existence? So what I'm saying is that I think when we go to sleep, our spirit goes back to God, and we have to pass through the lake of fire, and we are going back to him, but we're passing through this lake of fire. And if you're not, you know, cleansed in yourself, then you're going to have some negative experiences because you have to go through that. And you have to go through this to get to him, and that's some negative experiences. And when you go back, you're going to be going through that negative experiences. And so when you have your dreams, you're going to have all these negative things because it's the mirrors are showing you things that you're supposed to be going through. You know, you're supposed to be working on yourself in order to get to him. And there's nothing wrong with the law of attraction, except that there's some people that are attracting negative things to them. They don't understand why. I spoke on this in the previous video about the demons and the jinn and the genies and the genies. When you were asking a genie for something like the law of attraction, then it comes in a negative way because you're not quite capable of bringing about the good stuff yet because you're not really working on it yourself. So yeah, somebody was talking to me about how the DNA has like photoreceptors, or it's kind of like an antenna or something like that, for like sound waves and things like that. And God speaks, and you know, they talked about the fact that when you go to sleep at night, your DNA repairs the body, like your antenna is picking up stuff from God. And yeah, you're going back, and that's why you can rest, like when you're actually at peace in yourself and you go to sleep, you can have very restful nights, because it's like your body's repairing itself while your spirit's with God. And it's very interesting theory. But of course, if you're not in a good place spiritually yourself, then you're going to have all these negative things, like the lake of fire is there to purify you, Okay, Katie, it's kind of what I was saying from the very beginning, that in the 13th floor, like I talked about, there's this like upper level of life, and then they jack into this world. And in this world, they jack into a world below them, just like we have the game The Sims. Like I was playing The Sims, and I would jack into this avatar in The Sims, right? But I felt like I became that avatar, just like if you're playing a game online, like a multiplayer game online or something, you're that character and you're doing things with that character, etc. You come out of that, like your consciousness comes out of that, and you become you after you're done playing it. So we're this character, and then we are jacking out at nighttime when we go to sleep, like an avatar. He was this avatar character, the blue alien thing, and then he jacked out of it when he went to bed, and he went back to his other realm. And so that's, I think the idea is that we're going back to him when we sleep. And that's what happens when we go to bed. But also when we die, the same thing, we're just more of aware of it if you're having a near-death experience, I think, than if you're actually, just having a dream. Because when we have the dreams, we're taking this information, like we're going through the lake of fire, etc., down here back to Earth, back into this body, and then our body clutters things up with its own thoughts on, like, how do I explain this or that? And that's why we get it in symbols, and not like clear-cut ideas. We're just getting it as symbols, because our body is not able to process what we've just seen. And that's, if you have a negative dream, it's not always going to be, what you're supposed to be working on. Like, it's symbolic of something. Like, I'm trying to think of a good example that maybe I had a dream in the past or something like that. But, I don't know, if somebody had, I can't think of a good example for a negative one, but I think that, our dreams are confusing to us because we're not able to process what we saw. And especially if you don't want to deal with something negative in yourself, you're not going to constantly like be wondering, was this a dream telling me that I should not do this? Or was this a dream telling me that I should not do that? Because it's just not something that you consciously want to deal with, and there's this whole idea of the fact that we were creating this world around us like a lucid dream. Let's not say lucid dream, okay? Let's say we're creating this world around us like a dream. We're not lucid, okay? Normally 3 years ago, I was not lucid, okay? And we're creating this world around us like an inception, right? You create these people around you, and they're doing their own thing because of your subconscious wants and wishes and stuff like that, your subconscious plans and programming, etc. You're creating this negative world right now, when you're dreaming and not awake, okay? When we become conscious, when we become lucid, when we start looking in ourselves and seeing like, hey, we can actually do something in this world, like we should be doing something different here. When we become lucid in this world, we can change the world by changing ourselves. We look inside of ourselves, and if we're more kind with others, we're more forgiving with others, we'll see other people are more forgiving of us, because it's kind of like this holographic universe. Like, it's just us, feeding back to us in this dream holographic universe, whatever. So I think what that might come down to in Inception, all these different people were all like parts of the same consciousness, and they didn't like it when somebody else came into their consciousness. They like were going after somebody else, because what happened is they were trying to have like this Gemini dream, two different people in the same dream space, and the dream characters didn't like it when somebody else was in your dream. There's one theory I talked about in the primal Adam, that Adam was split into Adam and Eve. So the primal Adam is the one that's got Eve inside of her, and then it split out. And of course, they had children, and they split and split and split, and that's how you get the family tree, right? And that the body of Christ is them all coming back together in one. So there's a theory that when Adam went to sleep, and God put Adam to sleep to take Eve out, that this is all Adam's dream, that we're all pieces of Adam having dreams together, and it's all the same dream basically, but we're all just pieces of Adam having a dream because he went to sleep. It's an interesting theory. So yeah, is there anything else you guys want to talk about, or have any questions for me to discuss? I'm just waiting to see if there's any other comments, because I think that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about in this video. Yeah, TJ was talking about when we're meditating, and I think that when we're meditating, our spirit can get downloads better. I'm not sure how it all works, and I've never done astral traveling. I've never been able to. I tried when I was younger, when I was more, into chakras and stuff like that, and I was never able to. But I definitely think that our dreams and becoming lucid is a representation of what's happening in this real world. This real world? Is this world the real world? Or are we just a dream of what's going on in heaven, So, just let me know if there's anything you guys want to discuss or, talk about here. Commander Lee had mentioned the book Silent Takeover. I've never read it, but if you guys want to check it out, he's talking about that. He said that J.C. Lynn Shepherd explains the physical affecting the mental. That's interesting. And I know that this is kind of a heavy topic, but it's something I've talked about previously in many things, many videos on my channel, and just wanted to do a good video on it because, like I said, I had a transcription job where it talked about hacking, and I was like, basically the game of life is like hacking. If you want people to be more loving towards you, then love yourself. If you want people to be more forgiving, then forgive others, and forgive yourself. And we have these, rules, the Torah, treat others as you would want to be treated. It's the golden rule, and it's found in many religions, and people, if they actually followed that, they'd know what they should be doing in life, basically. And if you're new to my channel, I talked about Jesus Christ being the only way. Talks about other religions finding the way, because Christ said what he taught was the only way, and other people listen to what he taught, even if they don't believe he was, God or something, because I don't think he's God, etc. So you can look into my Jesus is the only way thing for how other religions can find the way, the path. The path is to follow the golden rule, treat others as yourself, because that's how you're going to get treated. And these mirrors, I think, are what you have to go through. And if you're treating others negatively, then you're going to have that mirror reflecting that back to you. So you're not going to be able to get up to God in the same way without passing through that mirror, yet. All right, Katie asked about spiritual and emotional detoxing. Okay. When I was detoxing let's see here. I had these things pop into my head, the random negative things, and I'm like, why am I thinking about this? Why? And I just literally think it's connected to physical detoxing. I think that our bodies are putting these things into us when we're eating, and so that's a physical representation, and so it goes into our mind, and we can feel these emotions. And I also think parasites are kind of connected to that too. I've talked about this in the past. Fasting, when you fast from food, at first you get these hunger pains, and it's like the bad bacteria and the parasites all want something to eat, and that's why they're hungry, and that's why they make you think you're hungry, and so they make you uncomfortable. It's painful. You have to go through what they're going through, and it's kind of like that, going through the mirror idea too, right? You have to go through what they're going through, and sometimes it's painful. But once you have fasted for a certain period of time, all of a sudden you're not as hungry anymore, and you get a clarity of mind, and you can stop focusing on food. You know, it's kind of like the bad bacteria, the negative parasites, etc. They're dying off because they didn't get any sustenance. And yeah, so when you're trying to stop a sin, like I was a habitual liar, because I think, you know, we're told we can lie. We're told white lies are fine. We're told that if somebody asks you, do you like this present, you should say yes, even if you don't, because you're just being kind, you know? You're thankful that they gave you a present, so you're gonna lie to them and say, yes, you like it. And the same thing goes for Santa Claus. Of course, parents told people that Santa Claus existed. We're told that it's okay to lie to your children, etc. So I have a video on lying and how to stop that and all that. But when you decide all of a sudden you're going to stop, do you want the truth and you don't want to lie anymore, then you're going to come into instances where you're going to feel like you're supposed to. So somebody will come up to you, and I think this is like the mirror. Basically, you're drawing things to yourself so that you can prove that you have accomplished what you wanted to accomplish. So if you choose to no longer lie, if you choose to no longer be judging, if you choose to no longer do this, no longer do that, then these instances, these ideas are going to come to you in your life, and you're going to attract it to you so that you can deal with it. So if somebody comes up to you and they say something and it's very difficult for you inside, you're like, I don't want to tell them the truth. How do I do this? What I did is I prayed, Father, let me know how I'm supposed to speak to this person on this issue without lying. And then he helped me do that. I had something to say. The Holy Spirit will let you know what to say, right? So, but at first it's uncomfortable. You know, your initial habit, because it's a habit, sin is a habit. It's an addiction, and you have to go through withdrawals. So your initial habit is to do that, and it's very difficult. So you have to, you know, find a way to get through it without falling back into your old habits, your old addiction of lying or whatever the sin is. So those are the hunger pains. Once you get over the hunger pains, once you kill those, then you're not going to have hunger pains anymore. You're not going to have those you know, those hard problems. You've seen that you've been able to get through it by the Holy Spirit. God is able to get us out of that. So God is the Spirit that, you know, there's nothing that we can't get through. There's no sin that we have to, you know, do. Our God is faithful and gives us the ability to get through every single temptation. So if you believe that and have faith, you can get through it. You rely on him and he gets you through it, so you don't have to fall back into those sins and things like that. So yes, the hunger pains, lusts of the flesh, exactly. So yeah, you're like detoxing, getting rid of the negative things that is not going to be there anymore. And then, like I said, you're not going to have the hunger pains anymore. It's not going to be like that anymore. You're just going to be able to easily get through life because you know that you can. Once you understand that God can show you a different way, God showed you a different way, you can do it a different way, then you're going to do it a different way, you know, because you know that there's a different way to do it. When you're stuck in that sin and addicted to it, you're like, there's no other way. I don't know how to stop it, you know? It's because you haven't actually gotten through it, you know? And Janet was saying she didn't understand how many flaws that she really had until beginning this process, and or hopefully had. Yeah. The thing is, we're just going through the lake of fire, and it's purifying us. God's word is tried, I think, 7 times in the fire, and we're being tried so many different times. And Kathy said she doesn't remember her dreams very well. Yeah, it's one way to remember your dreams, if you do remember them, is as soon as you wake up in the morning, is write it down. I used that when I was learning how to lucid dream. I don't lucid dream much anymore unless I accidentally do. I don't try to anymore, but I used to try when I was in high school. And I've seen people who have continually tried to lucid dream, and I'm not really sold that that's a good thing at this point, because I don't know, maybe it's good for some people. I'm not going to judge, but in my mind, it was kind of a waste of time at this point, because in a lucid dream, I really don't, you know, I'm like, what, having fun? It's like playing a game, basically, you know, in your brain, and you're not really doing anything. Maybe there's a way to talk to God through lucid dreams. I don't know. I had a lucid dream one time, and I asked God, what do you want me to do? And he put a ladder in the ceiling, and it came down, and like he wanted me to climb up there, and I climbed up the ladder into the hatch, and I woke up. So I was like, okay, God wanted me to wake up. He didn't want me to just play around in the dream, so whatever. So I think of it as like a waste of time in my mind at this point in time, but maybe people need it to understand how to be lucid in this dream, in this world right now that we're living in. So is there any other questions or any other things? Oh, well, I was saying to remember your dreams, write it down in a dream journal as soon as you wake up, because it'll be better. You'll remember it better. It'll help you because you'll get it into your mind to look, you know. Another thing is, if you are in this world, ask yourself, am I dreaming? Because it might help you in your dream life to understand if you're dreaming or not. That's how to lucid dream. If you do lucid dream, I'm not judging you on what you do in your lucid dream, you know, but the way I would figure out if I was lucid dreaming is, in this life, on this level, is look at a clock and then look away and then look at the clock again, and the numbers will change. So if I look at a clock now, like it's 11:57, and I look at the clock again, it's 11:57 again, then I know I'm not dreaming. You know, not like we do at nighttime. Another thing is I have glasses. If I'm able to see without glasses, then obviously I'm dreaming at that point. Oh, Katie, I'm sorry. A lucid dream is when you're aware that you're dreaming and you can do whatever you want to in the dream. So when you're dreaming normally, you're just going about, you know, mindlessly doing what you're doing, and you're not actually like awake. You don't understand what you're doing, you know. Once you realize you're lucid dreaming, so when I would look at the clock in my dream, or like words on a piece of paper, if you look at it, they would all be scrambled. You know, you can't really read very well in dreams. And if I looked at my fingers, they would all like go wavy and things like that. It's like you can't, once you try to focus on something, it gets like unfocused or whatever. And so once I realized I was dreaming, then I would rub my hands together. This is to get your focus on something physical, okay? And once I would do that, I'd be stable. The reason for that is because as soon as you lucid dream, as soon as you wake up and become lucid, you're liable to just wake up out of the dream. And that's what happened to me many times. So you got to stabilize yourself, you know, like, okay, I'm dreaming, be calm. Don't be like excited and, you know, frazzled, because you'll just wake up out of excitement. You rub your hands together, and TJ was talking about taking off his glasses. Well, I'm hoping there's actually a way that you're supposed to be able to train your eyes to see better without your glasses on. So I try to keep them off as much as I could, but really I need them to do things when I'm working on the computer and stuff like that. Just look at the clock. Don't use that as your trigger. Look at the clock, and if the clock changes time when you look at it the second time, then you're dreaming. Another thing is if you hit the light switch, the lights won't go on or off in a dream often. Okay. Of course, now you'll question your reality if it doesn't work in this life, right? So let's see here. Okay, so to become stable in your dream, it's rub your hands together, and then you'll become lucid. I mean, you'll be lucid and you'll actually stay in the dream. And then I would turn around and change where I was at and things like that, to change scenes in some way, to move to a different location. I would go around in a circle, and it's hard to explain, kind of like Tasmanian devil or something. But there you got the whirlwind again, you know. In the Bible, it talks about the Ethiopian, who was baptizing the Ethiopian? I don't remember. Was it Philip? I think Philip was baptizing the Ethiopian. And when he was done baptizing the Ethiopian, a whirlwind came and carried Philip over somewhere else, you know. Okay, Katie was asking, how do you have these dreams? Well, like I said, one thing is as soon as you wake up, write your dreams down in a dream journal. This will get your mind to be more focused about paying attention to what you're dreaming, let's say. And that results in you being more awake in your dreams. And the other thing is to look at the clock. Look at your words on, you know, a piece of paper and look at it again. And is it wavy? You know, if it's not wavy, you're not dreaming. Why am I saying this? Because the more and more you do this in your real life, when you go to sleep, you're going to do those things in your sleep. You're going to catch yourself looking at a clock in your sleep, because it takes a while. It takes a couple of weeks or maybe a month or something like that. It may take longer. Don't take these things, you know. If you're doing it a lot, it may happen faster. If you're doing it just a little bit, it may take a slower time, but be a habitual thing. And the more you do that, it's going to carry on into your dreams. And once you're in your dream, then you'll be doing this stuff. You'll be looking at the clock. Another thing is, like I said, I look at my hands. Are my hands stable? Yes, it is. It's very stable, okay? But in my dream, when I look at it and focus on it, they were be like little snakes, you know, not like little snakes. I mean, just like wavy, you know, like it's not stable because it's not a real thing. And in my mind, I'm wondering if this world is like a lucid dream for heaven. How are we stable? I think it's a vibration, you know, that we've got. Let's see here. Like I said, the more you do it, the more it'll show up in your dreams. And often if you are stopping to go through a sin, you know, and you were dreaming about that sin, then you'll still dream about it for a while. That's why I still had nightmares even after I was getting through some things. And it takes time, but as you are doing the right thing in the real world, it's going to go into your dream world, and it takes time. It takes a couple of weeks, it takes maybe a month, it takes a little longer maybe, but as you are habitually being better in yourself, you're going to habitually be better in the dream. And so it just carries over in that way. So it takes a little bit of time. Is there anything else you guys want to ask or discuss here? I think really focusing on yourself is going to help you in the future to have better dreams and to have better communication with our Father. And that's not a bad thing. Obviously, you want to be focused on yourself and getting better anyway. But I think we have to, because we're supposed to be getting pure as God is pure. How do you do that? Well, you look in the mirror. You know, we are supposed to be the image of God. Jesus is the image of God, you know, the image of the invisible God. When you look at us, you're supposed to see the Father. If you're not looking like the Father, then you've obviously got some issues that you need to work out yet, you know. But if you see us and you see the Father, because we're representations of him. And I've talked about that, the lake of fire. If it's all like, if you're going to and fro in the lake of fire, it's not going to have a good reflection of what's above. We're supposed to be reflecting the Father. If you can walk on water on the lake, if you can walk on it and you're pure, you've gone through it, been pulled out by Christ above the water, etc. If you can walk on it and it's pure, clean, etc., no waves, it's going to give a really good reflection of heaven, okay? So we want to be that good reflection of our Father. I'm glad that you guys are enjoying the chat. I'm glad you guys can talk with each other too in the chat. I wanted this to be a place where you guys could come together and discuss things with each other too. Yeah, so I'm really happy that you all got to come here. Is there anything else that you wanted to discuss or anything? Yeah, doing stuff without your glasses can help your eyesight. There's a doctor, I don't remember his name, but I was looking at it, and there's different exercises you can do to exercise your eyes, and I was doing that for a while without my glasses in the morning, and then I got out of the habit, and my eyes got worse, but they were getting better. These are not my normal glasses. These are a prescription lower than my normal glasses. Yes, Bates. Thank you. Bates method. Yes. Awesome stuff. I know. It's good. And I'm going to talk about that later on somewhere else because I think that it's definitely helpful. So the more you do those exercises without your glasses on, your eyes, you can retrain them to see better. And, the other thing is he talks about it being a matter of focus. Like, without my glasses, what he says, I think, is that I'm really, really trying to focus and everything's blurry. These are just a crutch, What we need to do is let our eyes have a rest and not be so focused anymore. Because what we're doing is over-focusing things until they're blurry. I used to do those, eye things where you could, like, blur things together, the 3D stereograms, etc. Shouldn't have done that. They're really bad for you. But man, they really put those on us as kids, right? I think they even had them like at the dentist's office and things like that. Anyway, it's really bad for your eyes and we need to sort of let them relax. But my idea was that in the dream, when I focus on something, it sort of was like wavy and like blurry idea, and maybe that's what's going on. As soon as you focus on something, it becomes blurry. It's really interesting to me about that. Another thing is Bates says that you can do the staring at the sun. He usually says do it quickly, like go like that without your glasses on, and just quickly look at the sun. But I don't think there's anything wrong with staring at the sun. I think it's good for us. I think he might have been more concerned about it than we are today. I think there's a reason why they're blocking the sun out at sunrise and sunset, because it's probably really good for us to look at the sun when we can at those times. That's the best time for sun gazing if you've never looked into it. And that's usually the most, chemtrail time, basically. So, okay, I think I'm going to end this because it's been a while, and I'm glad you guys got to come out. I'm glad you guys got to enjoy it. I hope that this has helped. What about sunrise and sunset? That's the best time to look at the sun, to stare at it. Because it's easier. When the sun is high in the sky, it hurts your eyes more. Okay. Is there anything else? Any other questions? Oh, okay. It's because I was a little lagging because there's lag when you broadcast. All right. Well, I'm glad, thankful that you all came out and listened to it. And I'm glad that it went so well and that I was able to explain what I wanted to explain, which I have to thank the Father for that because I just had a couple of notes about what I wanted to talk on and I didn't really know how I was going to explain it very well. And I think it came out pretty well. So thank you, Father. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Shabbat Shalom, and see you next week.